Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Now, we've been talking a lot about being. All
okay,
right, here we go.
We're
now,
recorded. We're on
we're
Facebook.
recording.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
We're doing our Friday CodPast podcast where, what is it, Deborah?
Where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future.
And we can prove that.
With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
And it almost looks magical. It looks like she's in her own room and that I can just, I'm sorry. I can reach into her room.
Where's our music? Where's our music? Keep your hands to yourself.
Yes, I know. Yes. I'm sorry about that.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CodPast podcast. We are here with Ginny Cutler, and I am super excited to talk to her today. I've known Ginny probably for at least 6 months, but she and I are part of a mastermind group together, and we've worked a lot together on our stories, and she is an amazing person, and I can't wait to learn more from her. Every time I'm around her, I learn deeper and deeper things. I'd like to introduce her with a little bit of reading. So
wait. We have to start with our music.
Oh, we did.
Deborah's darling daughter.
We did it.
I'll do it again.
It didn't come across.
Okay.
All right. So here we go.
So we're going to start with our introduction.
Maybe. All right, see if we can hear it.
Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Okay, we did it.
We also have a fishy joke that we usually start off with. Just like the tuna fish sandwich said, I've got a feeling we're not in Can Us anymore.
Good ones.
I don't know where you find those fishy jokes, but
I write them all. It's all my own material.
It's your full-time job.
It's original material. Yeah.
She's not only beautiful, she's really smart too.
That's true.
All right. So Ginny is a transformational coach with over 30 years of experience as a psychotherapist. She transitioned to coaching 12 years ago after having a fundamental shift in what she saw and understood about what we're truly made of. And at this point, what I would like is for Ginny to share her story as she can, because it will introduce you to the Ginny that I've met.
Okay. Well, when we did our mastermind together, I chose this 10-year period of racing that I actually kind of fell into. And that happened because I was raised with 5 boys, actually, and one of my cousins died this pretty horrible death. And so on my way home, I realized, life can be cut short. And, I love the things that the boys were always into, all the go-karts and the mini bikes. And it just kind of set my heart pattering as a little girl, but I was never able to do that. I was never allowed because that stuff wasn't for girls. So on the plane, I thought, you know what? I'm a grown woman. I need to do whatever I want. And so I made the decision, I'm buying a motorcycle when I get off this plane. And a few days later, I ran into this guy I know who rides this little Honda cruiser bike. And I just asked him about it and he just sold it to me on the spot. So I had a friend who helped me get it home, and then I just started practicing. After work, I'd go in parking lots and neighborhoods, and I finally got myself on the freeway. And one day he says, hey, I know how to get your skill level up. And that's how I found myself going with him and this other guy to a racetrack for a track day and riding on a real racetrack, that old clunky cruiser bike. So then a year later, next thing I know, I'm doing a bunch of track days. Next thing I know, I'm in my first motorcycle road race. I joined the racing club and I went my first race. And, I started to crash. I started to have accidents because I started at 39 practicing. I didn't start till I was 40 to race. And so, the doctors I would go to would ask me, why are you racing? And I didn't have an answer, but I had this passion. I felt like I came home. I felt like I belonged on the bike. I belonged in the gear and the helmet and the gloves and the boots. And I belonged out there with everybody zipping around. So, finally, over the years, I became a riding coach, a racing coach. I kept crashing and I became known as Crash. And I didn't really like that name then, but now, since we've done this story stuff, I've really embraced it. And finally, I was in surgery with my own personal sports surgeon once again. And he said, when are you going to quit racing? You're 49. Can't you find a safer sport? And I thought, I just still want to see how fast I can get. So finally, my 10th season, I'm out with my friend Chris on the racetrack, and he's helping with my suspension. He's tuning the suspension, and I'm going lap after lap, trying to get faster and faster. And
I'm still on the same bike, Ginny?
No, over the years, you crash them and then you buy new bikes and the technology improves. So you get a better bike, a faster bike. So finally, I went off the track that day because I felt like this is useless. I'm not feeling like I'm improving. And I got off and I looked at my lap timers and I saw that I was doing faster lap times than I've done in the entire 10 years. And I was stunned. I got off the bike and I actually sat on the ground and I just started to cry. And I realized at that point, this is what I'm doing. I've been reaching in and finding what I'm really made of. And here I am. Now I am this racer that can do these fast lap times, but also so much more. And then I think I was done at that point. I no longer felt the drive to keep going. And I started to think about, well, now I'm 50 years old and I'm out here doing this extreme sport. And it's dangerous, and I have a track record of crashing. So I ended up walking away, and I had to walk away because it was a wonderful motorcycle community. There was just hundreds of people that are, a lot of people I got close to, and I couldn't go out and keep watching the races because I wished I was out there. So I had to walk away, and in walking away, I sort of left behind a lot of who I had become in those 10 years. And so I had been really lost after that a little bit. And that's when I joined the mastermind with Laura. And that storytelling process just allowed me to reclaim those 10 years and what I had become and really integrate it into my life now. So really after that, I'm a good coach. I was a good coach up until then. Now I'm an amazing coach because I've integrated all that, I learned, I really could see what it was that I had really gained in me. So, yeah. And my family really quickly never came to see me. My friends wouldn't come to see me because they all felt it was too dangerous. And so, I couldn't really share it with them either. So, but I don't know why I just thought of that right now. But yeah, nobody would come to see me, interestingly.
So Ginny, well, they didn't want to see you crash.
Yeah.
And so Ginny, since you did all this, and is there like one magic thought that is a great kind of true thing? Like one of my girlfriends is a race car driver, and she says this to me all the time. And she said, don't ever look in the rear view mirror. Mm-hmm. And it has helped me at times to stay in the moment, not look backward. Do you have like anything that came to you as, man, this is a metaphor for life?
Well, I think one of the things that's true out on the racetrack is you've got to go slow to go fast. So that was something that everybody said. But for me, it was less of something that I would tell myself and more of what I would remind myself of, the feeling of why one thing led to another. I was on the plane, then I got the bike, then my friend said this, and other friends started to help me. And so there was that connection to that little girl who loved that stuff, and that there was something here for me, and I didn't know what. I didn't have dreams of, winning the circuit or anything, but it was just that there's a reason for me to be out here. And I connected with that feeling, that love of I loved everything. I loved the smells, the sounds, the textures, the flying through the air. We used to call it triple digit ballet. And just
wow.
Yeah.
You know, this is so cool that you're talking like this, because the three of us talk a lot to each other, and we share dramas and things like that, and good ideas. And we all three have a new kind of direction, and I'm doing my first workshop named this, and that is Life in Yes. And what you just described is, you know, I was an educator for quite a while and a venture capital banker. So I was trying to open K-12 schools for inspiration for the kids. And one of the things that I just got so angry about is that our whole system teaches you to dumb yourself down, right? Don't go after your dream. Don't do that. That's too dangerous. Blah, 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 blah. And what if we taught every kid from the time they're little, oh, you want to be a butterfly? Well, let's figure that out. Let's go, you know? And because a lot of us right now seem to be kind of finding ourselves and going back and talking to that little 4 or 5-year-old going, you're going to be magical, and we're going to find that out. And maybe we can create some kind of a bridge for people to say, you know, just live in and believe that the universe has your back, that God made you special because you are, and just go for it. Whatever your idea. I mean, like, I don't want to ride a motorcycle. You can ride the motorcycle. Your dream is not my dream. You know, we all have our own way of going. And so what if you just listen to that? What do you think about that conversation?
And well, absolutely. And what comes to mind as you're talking was also watch for the allies that can help you. And one of the allies that I had was, at the time, I had been 20 years earlier, I had had some nocturnal grand mal seizures. And so I had been put on medication, you know, not great stuff. But I had this young neurologist woman who, she actually was the head of the neurology department at that hospital near my home. And she said, you know what? You love being on that bike. So I'm going to help you. We're going to up the times that we see each other. We're going to, whatever it takes, I'm going to help you stay on that bike, because that's what's healing. So she was such a tremendous ally. And the moment I quit, I got off that medication because I didn't really need to be on it, and I've been fine ever since. But yeah, look for the allies that can help you do that along the way.
That is so, you know, it's we're doing the artist way, Ginny. I think we talked about that when I was in California, and they talk about that. It's like, once you make your announcement to the universe what you want, everything starts showing up, and you can get in your own way. Like, oh, there it is, but I don't really want that. You know, I want it. But
it's like Marianne Williamson's quote about, you know, who are you to play small? God didn't ask you to do that.
Exactly.
And if you believe that God works inside of every single cell, which I believe that 0 point energy in our bodies, that you're supposed to show up big, as big as you can. And whatever that is, just show up. And I think I'm kind of sad that we didn't talk, you know, we've all been raised Deborah and I have been raised in church our whole life, and church is important to me, and it doesn't matter which one. I go to Jewish synagogues or Muslim, you know, I just want to go somewhere where people are praying. But you know, we're not taught in religion, we're not taught follow your dream. We're taught you're going to burn in hell. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Am I going to burn in hell, or am I God glorified? You know? So.
Yeah. One of the things that's very clear in my work, especially in my lot of years previously working with people dealing with addiction, was that none of our experiences are wasted. They're all important. They're all specific to us and for us to be able to see that, in fact, they're for us. They're growing who we need to be for when we do finally kind of see what our purpose is, or our mission here, then we've got all the experience that we need. So really working with people to embrace all of that as how was that really important to who I am today? And how is that giving me exactly what it is I need to do this thing that I now need to do? That's digging for the stuff that, we're really made of. So it's having these experiences so that they can be brought out.
Well, you're talking about the CodPast podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we start laughing so hard sometimes, people are so used to being victims, and you wouldn't believe what happened to me,
Yeah.
And I've been on drugs for 30 years. I just can't. And we're like, get over yourself. Just use it and laugh, and people don't always like that. But believe me, all three of us have past that would curl some people's toes. And it's, it's why I'm me, it's why I'm me. And it's like, you might as well know all this stuff about me so that right away you don't like me, because I don't want to waste any time.
And all those experiences you had are 100% unique to you. Nobody else has had them. Nobody else can. So you have to bring that forward. You have to.
I do. And I asked Laura that yesterday. I said, why is it that we think that the experiences that we've had in our past, from a childhood to now, why are we ashamed of them or feel guilty about them? We did the best we could with what we had at the time. And maybe we made a mistake with, getting married too young, or maybe we made a mistake doing this or picking the wrong career. But why is that something to be ashamed or guilty about? It's just, we have a friend that calls it research and development, your first half of your life.
That's perfect.
And it's true. So, and then Laura talks about, checking out your past and then auditioning your past to what do you want to bring into your future? Some things not, so I wonder what you think about that, especially as a counselor, addiction counselor, with people's past and the shame and guilt that is
well, what I would do is dig for what the person doesn't see about the things in their past that they don't want to bring forward, because all of it is valuable. All of it was instrumental in developing our character and who we really are. And so that's what the map is really all about. Everything we've ever been through when we're interacting here is coming to play. It's all here, but very little of it are we conscious of or aware of. And so really having this process to be able to mine for, what am I bringing forward in my life right now? What are the parts that I like? What are the parts that I don't like? But let's look at the parts that I don't like, and let's transform those from not liking it to, leveraging the power of it, leveraging the wisdom of it, really integrating into us. And the more that we can do that, and not only accept, but embrace all of that, we can accept and embrace it in other people, and our relationships just are that much more powerful.
Well, and it's much more fascinating. I mean, people want to hear the dirt,
Well, what your triumphs are, what you survived, what you thought of that. Those are all great stories.
Yeah, I was a pregnant cheerleader, and for so many years, I mean, my sister, a few years ago, she goes, why do you always feel so bad about your childhood? And I said, because you always make sure I do. If I can, I'm like, because she always reminds me, you were the one who got pregnant. I'm like, why do you keep saying that? How many years do I have to hear this?
Well, the culture sure helps to keep that alive too for most people.
Yeah. Well, the culture is all about shame, blame, victim, separation from who we are, separation from the two of us, separation from our parents, separation from the schools. I mean,
100%
is about separating. And I think that's why people, we always joke. I mean, I've never done LSD, but not that I wouldn't. I might if somebody wanted me to. But we always joke around and go, just pretend like we're on LSD and everybody's got flowers coming out of their mouths and we just don't care about anything. And I'm telling you, we have gone into some of the most rough situations that we would have been triggered 900 times, like we want to slap somebody, right? And we just go, isn't this cute? They've got the most purple flowers coming out of their mouth, and I feel at one with them, don't you?
That is such a clever way to shift your being.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Accepting our being is something we can do at any time, and
Yeah.
it's where our power is. It's everything. Yeah.
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 Yeah. This is fascinating, Jenny. I love these stories. And, yesterday, and I don't want to go into any dark place, but right now, suicide and drug and alcohol use is just off the charts. And my feeling was that I love that we had COVID. I love it because it really, I got it twice and I'm super healthy. I got it in Costa Rica and then I got it when I got back here. And I didn't have it, but a couple of days. But the thing is that it separated us to such a degree that a lot of people have gone off the deep end, they've killed themselves or whatever. But I think it separated us so deep from who we are that we started actually taking the mask off in the mirror and going, who do I really want in my life? Who do I really want to be? Because I completely changed my life during COVID, and I know a lot of people who did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that we have this divine guidance that keeps going, hey, can you just pay attention to me for 1 minute?
Yeah.
And we keep it and covering it up and ignoring it and trying to stuff it down and go, no, I don't want to hear this. And I don't want to feel this. And I don't want to do this. And then in COVID, like we had no choices. We had to feel all this stuff, and we had to look at our behaviors and our habits and how we formed our life and how did we get here and why am I stuck with this person I've never been able to stand and now I'm stuck with them, and so I just thank you for doing your work, by the way, Ginny, because my heart goes out to people that struggle with anything. I mean, we've got tethers all around us.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be alcohol or drugs, and it might be prescription drugs, and it might be our sister telling us how awful we are all the time. We have tethers. And I think our whole being is how it's like what Untethered Soul, one of my favorite books,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. And we were talking about separation. So I was wondering, Ginny, the society is even trying to separate us from God now, right? Taking it out of the schools, taking it out of it's seen as something negative, which I believe that spirituality and our connection to the universe is key to our existence. But so my question has to go back to when you're counseling people and you're doing your therapy, what spiritual strength do you see either augmenting their recovery, or if they don't have any spirituality, is it something that they reach for?
So this is one of the reasons that I really transitioned from doing therapy to coaching. Because coaching, when the person walks in the room, I'm not looking for what are the symptoms, what are the problems in your life where you're not feeling good. I'm looking for the whole thing. So the questions are really very different. And people have the answers inside. They know what's going on. They know what they need.
Wow.
That's what's pulling them forward. That's what's pushing them, the dissatisfaction or the desperation. So people are going to tell me that. They're not going to take very long. Well, sometimes it takes a little longer to build the trust. Sometimes people need to feel like they're not going to be blamed and shamed and told they're crazy and wrong and all that. But it's going to come from them. And then I am going to do whatever I possibly can, be, do, or say, so that they feel like that's a place that can come out and they can begin to own that part of them, understand, what's happened and how to leverage that, how to really integrate all of that and find, find what it is that's driving them in their life and what they're being called towards.
Ginny, can I ask you to go a little deeper in that? I have never heard anybody say that there's a huge differentiation between counseling and coaching. And I guess I've done both because I've had schools all over the place and I've coached a lot of people. But you say that, is it the protocol for counseling that is legal that makes you stay in a certain path? or is it just the overall way people look at counseling?
Well, I think that there certainly is a lot of overlap, but there's a lot of distinctions as well. And I think the best way for me to describe it is, well, first of all, it's the training. You know, you're in institutions, you're in schools, you've got to train to this bell curve so you can keep people safe. You've got to train to these best practices that, you know, tend to work for the high end of the curve for most people. And it was the racing, and it was out there watching people who have lots of problems, but are out there digging deep in themselves and transforming the way that they think, and then the way that they're acting, their performance, their confidence, all of that. And a couple of particular incidents on the track that really changed my view from, here's a professional counselor who has all this training, and here is the client who's coming for some relief or some sort of shift in their life, to Ram Dass's quote, "We're all just walking each other home." That's the bottom line for me. That's, you know, that's all we are people with our unique experiences, our unique talents, our unique, you know, we've all got different core values, we've all got different conditioning and belief systems, but we're all here for the same reason. We're all going through the same human condition, the trials, the tribulations, and the achievements, the triumphs, but we're all just people. And anything that is like a professional, you know, strategy or field is of mind. So somebody made it up. So the writing the book is a book of, the DSM-5 is a book of labels. It's supposed to be something that helps a conversation, but too often in the field, we just allow to label people, particularly for insurance companies. So that's that distinction I hold in my mind all the time. And the way that I'm being is never this professional trained and can tell you what's wrong with you and how to fix it. But it's nope, we're all just walking each other home. And I need to tell you how I see you. And I'm going to relentlessly hold the vision of who you truly are until you do.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's your one true statement from your story. And I love it. And, you know, Ginny, and I know you're trained and you've had years of experience, and I know that you're racing. It's just like my competitive athleticism. Mm-hmm. It taught me a lot. And I've written down, I want to talk about repetition and transition in a minute, two totally different things.
Yeah.
But your one true statement, if everybody could do it, even though they're untrained, if I meet somebody and I believe in you until you believe in yourself, whether I have to stay in your life or not, it's that little bit of energy that just gave them a little boost. And one day they're going to do it. Maybe they won't, but I believe in you. I believe in you. Mm-hmm. And if we all treated everybody else like that, including ourselves, what a world we'd live in, you know?
Yeah.
I believe in you. I believe in you. Because that's really all we want from our parents, for example, right? Like we just wanted our parents to know, hey, I've got this. And then I think about the way I raised my kids, and I treat them like, you don't know as much as I know. You know, I didn't say it, but with my actions and behaviors, I'm sure I conveyed that.
Well, Laura, that's a really good point, because one of the main things, we mostly had schools in high-risk areas all over the world. I mean, but we had a couple of schools that were private. So those schools had, you know, kids that had more wealthy parents. And the thing that was pervasive in the whole thing, and I saw it just a huge issue in the United States, is that every single time you rescue your kid, you're telling your little kid, you're not good enough to figure this out. And when you start saying, honey, I think you've got this. I mean, I could help you, but you know, you've been through some of this before. And you let them, because overcoming anything is what gives all of us confidence. That's the only confidence builder, is overcoming. And so when you, like Laura, when you're a champion weightlifter, when I was at AT&T, they taught us, in order to be a female executive at the time, we all had to take weightlifting classes because it was the quickest way to build confidence. Because when you're struggling with a weight, you tell yourself, I'm so strong, I'm so strong. And you do it in a subtle way. And so it's a real quick way to build confidence. But parents and children take the life out of their kids by rescuing them from everything, from a bad friend to a rickety teeter-totter, to not being able to go around on the Ferris wheel because they might fall off. It's the more you let your kids hurt their knees and get up and go, I'm going to be okay, you build their confidence. And we've got an entire country with no confidence.
Yeah.
They all need to race like Ginny. That then brings me to my repetition, because that was something in your story, repetition. And repetition gets boring. Repetition is boring, but it creates mastery. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Is that the slow to the fast, what Laura's saying? When you said it takes
I think in my actual story that we taped, it's that I was just lap after lap practicing, lap after lap, the fine tuning each corner and each movement, on the bike.
And so that's the slow to the fast, but that's repetition, right?
The slow to the fast means if I'm going around and I keep making mistakes because my mind is too involved, or I'm tense because everything translates into the bike, then I got to slow down. So then my mind's not trying to keep up with, mentally what I got to do. And it just allows me to flow because I know how to go slow. So I'm going slow, and then suddenly I'm going faster because I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. My repetition, the muscle memory, the training, the skill kicks in, and I don't have to get in the way with my mind.
Well, I'd also like to ask you, so when I had the schools, we had that vision for the kids. We're like, you're perfect the way you are. And some of the kids had killed people and all that. No, I'm not perfect. And we're like, yeah, you are, because we're meeting you and you're like in front of me. And so, and one of my big chief problems in my life is holding that thought that you're perfect, and I'm going to hold that thought until I see it come about. And in fact, my work is the same thing. I coach CEOs and I become their part-time CEO. So I tell them what to do with their relationships, with their business, with their home, with it, because of the same thing. Like, I hold this vision that you're the CEO of your life and your business and your family and all that. And I'm going to hold that until, you give up whatever you're giving up that's not doing that. But my problem is I become codependent because I love everybody and I hold that vision, right? You're going to do this. You've got this. It's no problem. And they don't want me to hold that vision. They're perfectly happy being miserable. And so these girls help me a lot because I'll get so into somebody's life that I can't let go, because I know they're going to be okay in a minute, and whether it's drug use or whether it's just nasty anger or whatever, I just keep thinking, yeah, but they are a child of God, and I know they're going to find themselves in a minute, if I keep believing in them long enough. And then you have to go, no, you're the only one that's unhappy in this relationship, not them.
Well, I think what I found that's so useful is people can feel that and hear that. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes they can feel that and hear that. But then the mind comes back in, the conditioning comes back in. And the problem with the conditioning is that it's imprinted in the body. So before we know it, the body's activated, and then the mind follows with those crazy thoughts. And then the person thinks, see, this is the way I am. I can't do it. I can't change. So I'm holding that vision, but I'm also working on, the self-talk. I'm working on, where what triggering is happening. And that's notorious, in people dealing with addiction. But that at the same time, when the things that people have been through, that's just the point. They've been through them. They've come out the other side. And then we've got to backtrack with those things and look at what did you really learn? At the same time, what triggers your body to react in a way where you're going to fall back into your own conditioning. And let's design some experiments where you can go practice that before you're like my dog Hannah in full on, hijacked amygdala where she knows her commands, but she's gone mentally until her adrenaline kind of goes through. So holding both of those things, you're going to get triggered. Your conditioning is going to get triggered. It's going to happen through the body first, then it's going to happen in the thoughts. And so let's do both. I'm holding this, and then let's start to practice for when it does happen, because it will happen.
And then that gets back to the repetition, right? Like,
yes,
it's the boring, and I don't really know what mind mapping is, but it sounds like, I think people, especially in the US, we've been told you can lose weight in 5 seconds. Yesterday we were in Traverse City, and it was like, lose your belly fat in 30 minutes at this cryo something. Yeah. I'm like, well, I want to go in, because we all want the quick fix. But the truth is there's mastery in your life in the repetition. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes in those uncomfortable things. So, and that's where I think your cycling has helped, right? Like, it taught you repetition, slow down, get it right, get the muscle memory. And is that when you work with people with mind mapping and you have them dig deep, is that something that's repetitive and let's be patient, it takes a while, or it's quick?
Yes. So with the life map, I have 5 general categories that over time, for instance, your connections, your supports and allies, and then your strengths and assets, the things you have available to you, and then the limiting beliefs, the barriers, your perceived barriers, the roadblocks you experience. And then the practices that you do every day. We are what we practice. And what we practice in private, we're going to get rewarded for in public. So what are the practices that actually nurture you and build confidence and feel good and keep you whole? But what are the ones that are creating distraction and procrastination, the things that you keep finding yourself doing over and over again that you don't like? And then the last one is the personal principles. What are the things that I live for, that I stand for? What are the things that in my life I believe are true, and people are going to see that about me, and that's what they say about me? Your personal principles are really your core values, how they're expressed in your life. They're your way of being and doing. And so a lot of people have never really looked at what their core values are. But what we do have, we have them anyway, and we often have a misalignment. We often have a conflict, because what our core values are, we're not living. And so we need to know, because that's at play at any time in our life. So I have a big map, and people just go through all these categories and they start to dump the things that are true, the things that they know, the things that are, they like and that are good, and then the things that are not so good and they know that get them in trouble. And those things in the map that actually they feel good about and solid about, they know that are true, they put in the middle. That's what they're truly made of. Those are the things that they're going to be working with to go out and do these experiments and these practices and try to change the habitual patterns of, what they experience. And then the other thing about racing that you mentioned is doing the repetition over and over. I make sure people notice and experience the progress. So regularly, what's working? What progress have you made? What actually, if you look back, because the mind's going to look, our negative bias, we're going to look for what's not working, what's a problem. But we don't look at the things that are actually working. So then we capture those. People have a hard time doing this, but I encourage them to find a way where they can dump in a notebook or somewhere the things that their wins, the things that they actually have been able to change, the things that people appreciate about them. If they have a business, they have clients, what are the things that the clients are saying, the appreciation about them? How do other people see you? Because that's also true. You also know that you've got things inside that, your shadow, your behaviors you don't like. That's true too. But the things that people see, yes, maybe a lot of times we're projecting wonderful things onto them, but they're still there. So they've got to capture those, because when they're feeling low, they've got to be able to see those and read those and experience those. And so that's on the map too. What are the things that are actually working? And so we just go over and over. One of the things about the map that I've recently discovered that I love is after you've dumped a bunch of things on there. You can go back and you start to circle the areas that either you're living or not living. So these are the stuck areas. Like if I have these personal assets, I have some strengths, like I'm a great storyteller, or I'm a painter, or I'm good with children, but I'm not doing any of that in my life, I'd say that's a stuck place. And then the same is true where if I have some practices that I keep doing, like distracting, I'm watching Netflix, or I'm using substances, or I'm whatever it is that I'm doing, I can notice my stuck places. And I've really come to see that stuck doesn't live in one place in our life. It lives in all these small little places because it's an energy. Small little places all over in our lives, they're at play all the time. And when they add up, they feel like the pressure of stuck. So then you can just choose any one, especially the easier ones that you want to start with. And you begin through repetition to start to address these things and do little experiments where you notice, oh, that's not really how I am, because look what I just changed the outcome. I just really liked who I was and I did something completely different. So, and then you're capturing those things, because then you just like you do declarations or I am statements, you have to be able to tell your mind and your subconscious mind over and over, I am now this. I have done this. I can do this. I just proved it to myself that I can do this. And what we're doing is reconditioning our own mind. It took us decades to get to the conditioning where we are now. It's going to take some time and some practice, to get where you want to be. But the more you've got it all on this map, and you can go through the map and you can give it a rest for a while, but you can do it for the rest of your life. The process, the journey you can do for the rest of your life. And that's what the journey is. It's the rest of our life coming from the conditioning to, really unleashing who we really are and what we really want to do, using all this wonderful experience that we garnered through our lifetime.
And it's almost like, it's almost like you are the safety net as their coach as well, because there's a lot of threat. It's like, this thing is what has inspired me and made me be who I am. So for example, one of my words is lazy. I am always proving to myself and others that I'm not lazy. Nobody else sees me that way.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I still don't see myself that way, it's a driving force. And it's a little scary to let it go. Because if I let that idea of myself go, I may actually become lazy, so
yes,
you stay there for them probably until they really are, oh, you know what, you're right, I'm not, and it's okay, and I'm going to be okay, and I'm still getting stuff done.
Well, that's one reason I like that concept. We're all just walking each other home, because if the person I'm working with is really in a stuck place, and the particular thing that they need to do to kind of dislodge that is scary, and it's often enough, it's me too, it's something that I need to do too, then I'm going to make an agreement right then. We're doing it together. I'm doing it in my life, and you're doing it in your life. I had one man who had a woman in his office who was so good at what she did, but she was miserable to work with every day. And she treated people poorly, but she was so amazing. He really wanted to learn from her, but it was toxic. He couldn't do it. So, I said, well, you know what, let's play with you changing your relationship, because imagine what she's going through to be that way. There must be something. She must feel just as isolated and unappreciated too. So I told him, just bring her some flowers, bring her this or that, and say, you know what, I want you to know that I really appreciate it. It's tough sometimes for me to work with you and to be around with you when you get in a mood, because that's true. Everybody knows it. But I want to learn from you and I appreciate you. I go, just do that. He's like, no, I don't think I can do that. So I thought of somebody in my life that I was pretty blocked around and pretty triggered by, and I did the same thing. And those agreements to go out and work on ourselves, doing these particular ideas, are really powerful.
Yeah. I also then want to kind of get into transitions, because many of our viewers, we've all been through transitions. And what I heard you say is you walked away from 10 years, now what? And you found Bo. It sounds like that. I didn't realize it was that close in timing.
Well, it wasn't close in timing. So what happened was, I launched myself into racing and dove in there for 10 years. And then I had to launch myself out. And that launching coincided with, what I learned in racing and what I saw in people and myself. I went to get certified as a coach. Already licensed as a therapist for a couple decades, but I went and got certified as a coach. And in that process, not only the experience of racing and what I discovered about myself and other people, I completely questioned my entire life. So what I did is I literally launched myself. I quit my 6-figure job. I sold my house. I sold all my belongings, most of them anyway. I bought an RV and I put my 2 cats and my trailer and my motorcycles in the back, and I just took off. Left the Bay Area. I born and raised there. I never left there. So I literally launched myself, and I needed to do that. But what I didn't know at the time was the launch was important. I wasn't launching to anything. I had no plan. I had nothing. So that really sort of intensified the loss feeling of the racing, because I lost a community and this thing I had been in forever. And so I ended up in Nevada City with my brother. He was in Sedona. We came to Nevada City, and then I just started, I bought some property and then started making a life here. But the sense of loss of what I had known and how I had grown was so deep. That's when I started to look around and found Bo and joined the mastermind. And then it took about a year, because their process, their journey that they've created is really wonderful. It took about a year and whoop, tightened it all right back up. And so now I'm launching all kinds of in new directions now.
So I think that's something people can do. I know that when my youngest graduated from high school, and I had built this company for 10 years, and all of a sudden, I don't care about that. I just didn't know who I even was anymore.
Yeah.
I was I worked, and then I got married, and I still worked, and then I had kids, and I did not really work. And so everything that I had worked toward was meaningless to me. And so finding these nuggets, people like Bo in that group, or Deborah and Trish, who has apparently gone missing. I don't know. She's like a magical genie. I'm not sure. Maybe Calgon took her away. But, I think too, a lot of people in our audience and just people in general go through transitions and they get a little lost. And
I think what happens a lot of times is we get stuck with this identity, of who we think we are. And because we don't know anymore, any different, it's too scary. The loss of identity for a lot of people is really difficult. But the thing to know is that that identity is what holds you back, because it's limited. It's just what you know. It's just up to a point, and there's so much more about you. So that's when you need to have that relationship and that, that trust and that safe harbor to know that, okay, I'm going to go through this really scary time, because I'm going from my current floor to my next ceiling and making that my floor. But everything that I've ever been and ever wanted is there, but I have to do the work to do it. I have to live into it, develop into it, grow into it. So that's why, working with a coach or a therapist or whatever is so important, to be able to let go of who I thought I was to find who I truly am and can be. It's very difficult, but it's in any work, from your lifetime, the things that were really difficult for you to go through are the things that created you, the things that developed you and defined your character. And so that's the job of us. There's no finish line for us. It's never done. So it's just the next phase, whether it's a life transition area that's maybe developmental, or whether it's, life circumstances. That's what it's about. So the quicker we can see the value in that and really embrace how powerful that is and empowering that is, the quicker we can, before we die, we can keep going to the next ceiling and the next ceiling and just blossom.
That's a really great visual. Tell me a little bit about your concept of past, now, and future, paying attention to, we're really trying to live in the now and make sure that we capture every moment and not, be living in the past or worrying about the future. But what balance do you see there when you're trying to grow as a person?
I think when you have something you can do with your past, like you're taking your past and you're being able to accept it, look at the gifts of it, and leverage those, bring those forward, then that's useful. It's information. It's because your past is at play in your life right now. So we have to know that that's at play and it's part of us, and we really want to mine for how do we leverage that, how do we get the wisdom out of that and really make that an integral part of us that makes us more powerful. And the present is really for that, just being, just experiencing why we're here, what we really are, how amazing this really is. And there's such a power in that beingness. It's healing, it's inspiring, it's zen, it's amazing. So it's also for listening to ourselves, listening to the universe, listening to the nudges, the guidance. So it's really feels good, and it's really important. It also, though, is to really sit with the feelings, that our conditioning has created in us, and the environment, the world around us. And because a feeling won't last, it's a chemical, right? There's only so much, and it's going to go through, and you got to get past it. And the understanding is on the other side of it. Again, another really good reason to have a relationship, a collaboration, where you don't have to sit with those feelings alone necessarily, and you have somebody who can say, get on the other side of it. It's telling you something. It's useful for you right now. It's already at play in you right now. And it's at play in a way that's not serving you or anybody else around you. And then the future, this environment, we're exponentially speeding up as a species. And we are a piece of technology. We're all about everything we're doing is technology, and it's going faster and faster and faster. And our brains aren't keeping up. That's why we need all this distraction. That's why we zone out. It's really overstimulating. So that's why finding what is really important for you. What is the thing that really lights you up? What is the thing that your whole life experience has taught you that now you can take out into the world and help people struggling with the same thing? So we have no real control over other people and their way of thinking and the future necessarily, but we do have control over who we are being and what we are saying and doing in the world right now. And so in order to have that be quality, we must take care of our this physical being that we are and how it's being affected by the acceleration in the environment in so many ways that we're not even aware of. That's our responsibility to just one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, me reflecting back to you a world that's, other than what the rest of the world is trying to reflect back to you and keep you small and scared.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, yeah. So,
ghost story.
Oh, yeah. So now I was just thinking about this because I know we're coming close to the end of our hour here, and then we'll go over to Clubhouse. But one of my questions is, have you ever seen a ghost or a UFO or had some kind of supernatural experience have you had anything like that?
Yeah. So the earliest one was when I must have been about 3. And I remember waking up on a Sunday morning, and my 2 brothers and I shared a little room, and I woke up and I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden, smack, something just smacks me on my butt. It was just like my mother would do, right? It was no denying what that was. And I was alone in the room. And so I realized at that point, part of me was like, oh, and the other part thought that was kind of funny. And so I realized as a little 3-year-old, there was something more. I couldn't say what it was. Like my frontal cortex wasn't, much evolved, but that was my first one. And then I think one of the amazing things was racing. I was on a practice day, and I was practicing getting through this one corner faster. So that meant I had to go into it faster. So I got distracted, and I was headed for a brick wall, a concrete wall. And I realized, then I put my brakes on, the bike starts fishtailing out of control, and I realized, I'm out. There's nothing I can do. This is beyond my skill level, because I was headed for a brick wall. It actually had a break in the middle. So if you were skilled, you could drive through and it was on gravel. You could drive through it. And on the other side, of course, the hot track was right there too. So you'd have to stop it. There was no way I could do that. And so I felt as if my body that was on the bike like this just sat up. But of course it didn't, because somebody had to keep driving the bike. Well, something intervened, and there I was just watching, and that bike just effortlessly, expertly, somehow slowed in a fishtail and got on that gravel and stayed in control and went through that tiny little passage, went this other way and stopped right at the hot track as other bikes were coming through. It felt like my big brother or somebody came in and said, I know you kind of blew it, but no worries, we've got this. It's okay. You need to be around for another day. And
wow.
I was like, I was not even in my body when I stopped, and the turn worker was going crazy. And so that was one, that was about 12 years ago. So I'm not really seeing anything other than, no, I'm not going to go there, but not really seeing anything, but having these physical experiences of an other altered state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So also, Ginny, as we wind down, what would you, we'll get to what would be the one big piece of advice you would give our audience. But before we do that, how can people get in touch with you if they want to do your coaching, or what your offerings are? What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Well, I have my website at ginnycutler.com. I also, on my Facebook page, I am posting regularly. I'm taking myself through my mapping process. So it's an interesting way for people to kind of see what that is. I also, I have this YouTube channel that I never really used, but I'm about to transition it from this little full being born hour-long video that I did a couple years ago to actually some of the stuff that I do in coaching. Yeah, I think so. Right now, that's about it. And on my website, I think it'll be pretty soon, and probably a week, will be my story video that you and I did in that mastermind. It's going to be right up on the front page, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I loved your story.
We'll put your contact information on our CodPast Facebook page too. We'll put it right in our feed. And
also on YouTube. We'll do that on YouTube as well.
YouTube. But I just wanted to say, so nice to meet you, and Laura speaks so highly of you, and I hope that our paths cross. Sometimes I'm sort of a beau guest of a member, so nice. I've been to one, and I'll probably go to another, and but it's so nice to meet you, and really appreciate your time that you spent with us and your wisdom that you imparted on us, and it was a great conversation. And we would, like I said, we'll definitely put up your contact information. Do you have any parting words?
Yeah, good advice.
How do you say it?
Well, I've heard it described, if you were going down in a plane, what would be the one piece of advice you give? But probably the person sitting next to you is going with you, so I'm not sure that's a good one.
Yeah.
But maybe it's something from your heart that you think somebody needs to hear. Like, what's, from your expert opinion, what's like one really big nugget?
We call it row advice.
Yeah, we do. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that, the most powerful thing that we have is just self-awareness. That really is our superpower, because that from our self-awareness is where our choice is. And there really isn't anything, we are all so loved, and we are all so amazing. There's nothing to be scary, to be scared of in there. The only thing that people need to be scared of is their own thoughts. Like Byron Katie would say, no wonder nobody wants to go to prison, or it's such a horrendous experience, because we're locked up with our own thoughts. Those are very, very, very difficult. So, but they're just that. They're just thoughts, and they're really not true. I mean, we're so much more than that. But getting there by beginning to really be self-aware and doing some process to be self-aware is where all your choice is. It's where the being that you really want to be is there. So there's so many processes to jumpstart your self-awareness, but it needs to be something that we do all the time. We stick to it, because again, it took us decades of experience to get to where we are, decades of conditioning and negative self-talk, that it's something to adopt for the rest of our life, and all the richness of what we want is there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Ginny. And we're going to head over. Hi, Dr. Trish, you're back. The Magic Genie's back. And so we're going to head over to Clubhouse, where you all can talk to Ginny yourselves. And I named it mind mapping. I'm trying new little words to see what comes in, because what we used to call it is FAC, and nobody knew who that was. But last I put something called spiritual awakening. We got a lot of new people coming in because they like that. So maybe they'll like the mind mapping idea. And so you have the link that I sent you, and on Facebook, the link is beneath, not what we're doing now, although I can go put it out there, but the link is beneath the post we put about Ginny yesterday. So we'll see you guys on, I'll see you over on Clubhouse. Oh,
great.
Trish? What, Trish?
Where do you live?
Nevada City, California, Northern California.
Yeah, I know Nevada City. I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. Going right by there. All right, we'll see you at Clubhouse. So where is the link, Laura?
I sent it to you guys yesterday, but I'll
you did. Okay,
today.
all right. No, I'll get it. Apologize for tiny emergency, but all right, guys. And I'll see you over at Clubhouse. In a minute. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ginny.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great.
I loved it.